Hello, it's Tuesday, my name is Guy, and you're watching Off My Bridge. This week's episode is, well, to be perfectly honest with you, self-indulgent. I went back to South Africa recently, and there I discovered a chest, and in that chest I discovered this dot matrix printed document. It is 22 pages long. Some of the pages have come undone. It was hand-bound with string. It even had a cover design, which you can't really see very well. These were the Star Trek RPG rules that I wrote with my very good friends at the tender age of 16 in 1996 for playing Star Trek. These rules that I wrote were based on Westend's D6 system that they created for the Star Wars role-playing game, as well as some second edition Dungeons & Dragons rules, and then some rules that I just wrote myself because neither of those two systems had rules for them. It's not a great system. The core idea is that you have 6 attributes, which I'm quite proud of because, they're the attributes that you would expect. There's security, medical, science, command, strength, and engineering. I figured the strength one was because I couldn't think of anything else to represent the character's actual strength. Security represented dexterity. So strength was a thing. Now, of those 6 attributes, you assigned a number of D6s. So 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, 4d6. And then you would have skills under each of those attributes. So, for example, you'd have phases under security. So you would then assign a d6 to the phases, or 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, and so on. And when you were to make an attack, you would just gather up all of the d6s for that particular thing. So you'd add your phases of 2d6 plus your security of 4d6, and you'd roll 6d6. You'd then add up all of the numbers and compare that to either the dodge roll made by your opponent or the difficulty roll made by the GM. Everyone was rolling a lot of dice. Each time you level up, you gain points. You assign those points to buying more D6s that you add either to your skill or to your attribute or to a specialization within that skill. And that's really the sum total of it. I've got all the different skills here. Not a huge list. We've got under security, we've got phases, phaser rifles, dodging, interrogation, starship gunnery, security systems, demolition, and searching. And then there's some specializations within that, and generally the specializations are Federation, Klingon, Romulan, and Cardassian. So yeah, that kind of gives you the sum total of the species that we were interested in as teenagers. Anyway, the skills are quite extensive. Then we've got the species that you can play. And we had Terran or Bajoran, Klingon or Cardassian, they were clumped together, Romulan or Vulcan, and then Trill or Bolian. And that was because I loved the Bolians and a friend of mine loved the Trill, who hadn't really been as developed as I think we really would have liked. Anyway, they've got different abilities and restrictions on skills they can and cannot have. And combat is fairly straightforward. You roll to hit, the opponent rolls to dodge, you roll damage, your opponent rolls their strength score to resist the damage. If they do resist the damage, there's no damage even though you hit them. If they don't resist the damage, they take damage, and then you roll on a table. Depending on what that roll is, there could be instant death. There could be incapacitated, knocked unconscious. You get minus a d6 from all of your skills until you're healed up. Healing was something that we were apparently very, very punitive on. It took days or weeks to recover. So I don't know where that came from or why that came in. A difficult task would be somewhere between 5d and 7d6. Then we get to the ships, and the ships are quite extensive. In terms of favorites, we've got all of the ones that you would expect. They've all got a whole bunch of statistics. Every action your ship takes costs you an extra d6, things like that. And then there's leveling up. And here we had the ranks. And you can certainly tell where second edition Dungeons & Dragons came in. The ranks for Ensign, you needed a certain number of points depending on what career you were doing. Medical needed 60 points to advance to the rank of Lieutenant Junior. Security only needed 55. Science only needed 40, whilst Command needed 80. So if you wanted to be the commander of the ship, you were going to pay for it, rather than being the scientist who apparently no one cared about and whom everyone ignored. One takeout from this that I wanted to share with you, and that's why I said this was an indulgent video. I look at these rules and I think about that 16-year-old living on the tip of Africa with no prospect of ever being involved in writing adventures or rules or being the host of a YouTube channel. YouTube didn't even exist in those days. That individual eventually got to the point where I am now writing things for Star Trek Modiphius. And I've written rule books, and I've got videos on YouTube. So the take home I get from this is that you should always follow your passion. Always. Because you have no idea where it's going to lead you in the future. And it is your passion that inspires you and that drives you and that motivates you. So if you are following anything else, I think you're making a mistake, because you never know what's coming up. And I am beyond grateful, beyond happy, beyond, I don't know what, I wish I could go back to that 16-year-old who didn't really know what was going on with their world and just say, hey, keep at it, because amazing things are going to happen because of amazing people like yourselves and the support that you're going to get on your journey. But you have to stick with it. So stick with it. If you're doing something that you're passionate about, doesn't matter what other people say, doesn't matter what other people do or what other people think, you stick with it. Because I remember being told, you're wasting your time, these are just games, these are silly things. Sure they are. Thank you for indulging me. I've said this many times before, but it cannot be said enough. Thank you for indulging me and for supporting me and for creating these amazing opportunities for me. I'd love you to share with me, if you are willing, and the rest of the community, of course, passionate things that have driven you and that have inspired you and that you are working towards, so that we can affirm you and say that you are worth your passion and your passion is worth you, and you should stick with it because you don't know where it's going to end up. And it's never too late to start following your passion. This is an important announcement. There is going to be a 2-week break. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. But there's going to be a 2-week break next week and the week after, whilst I am at D&D Inner Castle in the UK and recovering from D&D Inner Castle in the UK. So we're going to take a 2-week break. During that break, I would challenge you to create an adventure, come up with an idea, do something that pushes your passion forward. Take it as permission from me to spend a little time on yourself doing something that you love. And then come back in 2 weeks and we'll carry on our Star Trek conversations. Until then, I wish you long life and happy gaming.